I'm Carol Speakerman, and this is Speakerman Speaks Retail, presented by MarketScale. Hi, this is Carol, and welcome to episode 15 of Speakerman Speaks Retail, where we navigate retail from now to next through my latest retail trajectories and interviews with industry experts and upstarts who are charting the course. Now, in our last episode, we talked about how diversification is retail's growth engine of the future, and specifically business model diversification and platform expansion through partnerships. Now, today, my guest and I are going to talk about those platform opportunities, and specifically how U.S. brands can get noticed, engage, and ultimately sell to Chinese consumers and remove a lot of the hurdles that always seem to get in the way of making that happen. Right now, 43% of Chinese consumers are confident about an economic recovery happening next year, and particularly in e-commerce. And they also want access to authentic and unique brands. So there's definitely a lot of momentum in this space. But my guest, Joe Crawford, is the U.S. president and co-founder of Avocado. It's a soon-to-be-launched digital platform and app that builds those digital bridges. Now, Joe was drafted by the LA Lakers in 2008, and he went on to play for the Beijing Ducks in the Chinese Basketball Association. His passion for protecting the work of performers, brands, and creators stemmed from that experience, and it also led to the creation of Avocado as a way of rewarding creators' dedication, monetizing their value, and just helping them gain access to high-potential global markets like China. So it's really great to have you here, Joe, today to talk about how Avocado is going to help make all that happen. Welcome to the episode.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and it's just great to be here.
Well, it's really great to have you. And I'm going to start with a question that I bet you guys get all the time, but I'm really curious to get the answer to it, and I'm sure that our listeners are as well. The name, Avocado. I mean, tell me about the significance of it and why you chose that as your brand.
Well, I would love to tell you that it's a deep story to it, but it isn't really. My partner, Sam, I think he just thought it had a good ring to it. You feel me? And with me, we was going over names, trying to figure things out, and I just thought it sounded good too. I thought it was something clean and unique and something we could work with.
Well, that's great. Well, and I think I read at some point you guys had a release out that maybe there's an air of exclusivity to it in terms of it being maybe something that's common in some areas, but harder to get in others. But I don't know if there's any truth to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that came along with it too. You know, after picking the name, we made it ring.
Oh, so you backed it in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense. Well, when we spoke earlier this week, it was really clear to me that your experience playing ball in China had a really big impact on you. So I'll ask, what did you learn from your experience there, and how did it motivate you to step out into creating this opportunity and this platform?
Well, for me, just putting ever since I was young, with basketball, I put myself in uncomfortable situations, giving me the opportunity to grow. And that's what China did. It was, when I landed in China, it was a culture shock like nothing I had experienced before. And it took a lot to even perform, amongst those circumstances. And, so jumping into this field, as a professional athlete and as, young athletes, pursuing the goal to be a professional basketball player or professional athlete, it's tough. It's a long, tough journey. So, when you have those desires and those desires that people think that are like that you can't actually reach, you're different than most people, so with me, jumping into this lane that, when I first told people about what I wanted to do as far as with Avocado and connecting the US to China, it seemed unrealistic. So, just kind of like me saying I was going to be a professional basketball, being from where I'm from. So that prepared me. It almost seemed like, okay, I'm doing the right thing again. This is the same thing I did with basketball, and this is what I want to do as far as the e-commerce world.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, not only just becoming a professional athlete, but then,
Mm,
to your point, the culture shock of moving to China.
yes,
So, starting a platform from there probably didn't. It probably seemed like the next logical step, and not necessarily any more risk than you had assumed before, right?
right, right.
Well, I just to give a little bit of background for my next question
Hmm.
for the listeners, the Chinese concept of hatao, and I could be pronouncing that incorrectly, and if so, my apologies. But
Hmm.
essentially, it's a concept that refers to cross-border commerce that's really
Right,
been accelerating as a niche consumer trend in China. It started in the late 2000s, but now over 210 million shoppers in China want access to overseas products online, and they
right,
want it without a lot of hassle. So in
right.
2019, cross border e commerce sales reached $1.8 trillion. And of
Hmm.
course, when other platforms, some of the big guys out there see these kind of stats, they want to get a piece of the action too. You've got
Hmm.
Alibaba launching
Hmm.
its Tmall global platform, and they're specifically courting smaller US brands and also trying to promote their cross border capabilities. So,
Hmm.
at a time when so many others are trying to jump into this cross border commerce space, where does Avocado play, and what are you guys going to do differently?
I think with us, we're not too focused on the numbers. Of course, we see that this is a huge money making play or opportunity, but that's not the reason why we started it. It was more to bring the culture to the Chinese consumer. So I think that's where we're different as far as with all the other platforms that may want to jump into the space, is that uh, we're going to really bring the culture to China and make it easy to access it. So and and I think that's what they want. So it will become a culture before it becomes it becomes just somewhere to buy things. Like with Twitter and Facebook and things like that. The reason why it became big is because it became something that people did every day, and that's what we want Avocado to be. We want it to become part of the culture. You're not just going in there to buy things. You're going in there to see how people are wearing things. You see how people are doing things, or how different cultures do things. So that's what I think separates us from all the other platforms.
I see. And also, too, when we had talked before, you had alluded to, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, that there might be a focus or at least directionally some ideas around streetwear and that
Hmm.
intersection of streetwear and pop culture, which
Yes.
continues to be probably the biggest differentiator that American brands can bring to the Chinese market. So, is that another way that you're differentiating? Is in terms of your product focus and your category focus, or?
Yes. Yes. Of course. And that's what I kind of meant by culture as well. And all these other platforms, I think uh, if you go in there, you kind of just land in a big ocean, and you can't really find what you're looking for. I think we'll be more concise and more cultural. So, if you're looking for streetwear brands, you're going to find that. You're going to find a community of people doing that. So I think that's another way where we're going to differentiate ourselves.
Well, and one thing that comes up time and again when you're talking about these high standards, and we're going to continue to talk about the high standards that
Hmm.
Chinese consumers have. I mean, they like authenticity. They don't
Right.
want, as you have pointed out in our previous conversations, they're not the ones buying the fakes.
No, not at all.
But they also want in a lot of cases exclusivity, and they don't
Hmm.
want necessarily a bunch of mainstream brands that everybody else has. So
Right.
are you focusing on exclusivity in terms of brands just working with you guys, or are you thinking, hey, it's cool if you're on, a bunch of other platforms too, or are you encouraging them to give sort of exclusive attention to Avocado?
I think our main focus in the beginning is definitely going to be exclusivity, just because I don't think you can just let everybody on and people understand what the platform is to be used for, So I think it works both ways as far as showing people what the platform is used for and intrigues the Chinese consumer, because they do like exclusivity. So uh, yeah, I think we're going to start off as that. Are we going to have some brands that are going to be on other platforms as well? Yes, but I don't think that's a problem, because with any other platform, with Instagram, they don't. You can get on Instagram. They don't not let you post on other platforms. I think the difference in Avocado is, I think our concept is going to be so clean and concise that you're going to want to be on our platform more anyway. So I think that's what is going to separate us.
Well, it sounds like you're saying, if I can sort of paraphrase that, you're
Mm-hmm.
saying Avocado is going to be maybe a more curated environment, and that you're going to
Mm-hmm.
bring a point of view that's going to
Mm-hmm.
allow these brands to stand out and not just kind of get stuck in that sea of sameness.
Yes.
Great, great. Well, I know
Mm-hmm.
that's needed. I mean, one of the big complaints right now about a lot of other platforms is
Mm-hmm.
that they are just taking all comers and saying, hey, whoever you are, just come sell on our platform. And everybody's competing against everybody. And in some cases, even competing against brands that those platforms create themselves.
Right. Yeah.
So that's important. Well, one thing too is,
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of folks, in my experience, they underestimate the sophistication of Chinese consumers, and particularly
Right.
when it comes to content marketing. Things like streaming, live streaming, that are considered,
Mm-hmm.
emerging opportunities here, are already a baseline expectation in China. And you've got Amazon, in fact, just now starting to test this live streaming and live streaming commerce. So that's just
Right.
one example of those baseline expectations that are really high in China. Tell me more about how your content platform is going to work and how you're going to make sure that you meet or even exceed those higher expectations in terms of engaging content.
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure. Yeah. Just given
Mm-hmm.
Chinese consumers really high
Mm-hmm.
expectations for engaging
Mm-hmm.
content and, live
Mm-hmm.
streaming and those types of capabilities, what are you guys
Right.
going to do to ensure that you meet those standards, and that your brands are able to meet those standards that are much higher with Chinese consumers?
I think what Avocado allows is, it gives the brand uh, complete control to be creative with marketing their product. So that's all the Chinese consumer is looking for, is authenticity. As far as they want, they have a want to just be able to see the real you. They don't want um, something that's put together and make you say some Chinese phrases or things like that. They just want the authentic you, and that's what I think Avocado is allowing a brand to have the camera in their hand and market their product the way they want to market it, and that's what Chinese has a need for.
So it sounds to me like you're saying that the authenticity of the creator or the brand maybe even supersedes the need for all those bells and whistles.
Yes, of course, but we do have we're going we do, we're going to have live streaming and things like that. But I think the main focus is just allowing the creator to be able to be authentic with the consumer.
But will your platform have the capabilities to support all of those other, all of these different ways that people deliver content and create it?
As far as what
Oh, like,
different
well,
ways?
video, the live streaming, those types of things.
We'll have video, live streaming, pictures, all that. So if I need to explain it a little more, Avocado will be a platform if kind of it would look kind of like maybe Instagram or Snapchat as far as I'll say more like Instagram as far as being able to post a picture or post a video. But we're different at is once you post this video or picture, you will be able to press on the video and purchase whatever the creator is marketing. So if it's a T-shirt or shorts or shoes, you can press on it and it will show up, and you can purchase it directly from the platform.
Wow. Okay. And are you going
Yeah.
to be offering fulfillment services and getting into all that back end stuff, or is that going to be up to the brands that participate on the platform?
Yes, we're definitely going to offer it. But yeah, it's up to the brands. Yeah, we definitely have uh, whatever a creator may need, but it's definitely up to the brands.
Okay. So you'll have perhaps different levels of involvement or different levels of support that you'll offer.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Cool. But either way, it sounds like the primary goal is really to build that community and build Avocado as a trusted sort of social media and social commerce brand as a priority rather than just saying everybody, start selling stuff.
Exactly, exactly.
Well, when we look at the Chinese market, the fact that China has shifted from being a manufacturing based economy to becoming more consumer based, that's been in the news for a while. But also, in some cases, the affinity for Chinese brands has increased with Chinese people. Not in all cases, but you've got brands like Li Ning and others that have been breakouts. And
Hmm.
are Chinese brands for you guys considered competition, or are they going to be on the platform also, or how are you going to I guess play with or play against the domestic brands in the Chinese market?
Uh, I don't think we. I know we've worked with Ling Ning recently, um, and I'm sure we'll figure out a way to incorporate them. I think the main focus right now is the need for U.S. brands. I'm sure eventually down the line that because when there's a need, you have to fulfill it. So once you open up this market, I'm sure it's going to be people in U.S. U.S. consumers are going to want Chinese brands. So that would be something that we have to open up down the road.
Yeah, well, and that really ties into another question that I had, which is,
Hmm.
you see this not maybe primarily as a way for U.S. brands or to gain access to the Chinese market, but it is going to work both ways
Yes.
eventually. Okay,
Yes.
that's the
Eventually.
vision.
Yes. Hmm.
Also, as much as you hear about the growth of e-commerce in China and the dominance of e-commerce in China,
Hmm.
several major Chinese platforms like Tencent, who I believe is a partner of yours, and I'd love to learn more about that, and
Hmm.
also Alibaba, they're making investments in brick and mortar, which is really interesting.
Right.
A lot of these Chinese e-commerce platforms are actually buying brick and mortar assets. Are there any
Right.
plans for you guys to integrate with brick and mortar, or is it just purely a digitally focused platform?
Yes. We have plans to invest in brick and mortars. We think it's important to have a presence um, in China or in the U.S. So we're going to open a brick and mortar in Detroit in the
Oh,
next couple of months, and in China. So maybe some of the top brands that are sold on Avocado will be available in the U.S. and in China at the brick and mortar spots.
oh, great. So you
Hmm.
are going to be actually opening an avocado branded brick and mortar space.
Yes. Yep.
Neat.
Hmm.
And I'm
Yeah.
sure that's as much to drive awareness of the brand as anything.
Yes, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I do
Mm.
too, and especially as a way
Hmm.
to also showcase your brands and give them that exposure.
Yeah, of course. Yep. And that's the main reason why I wanted to do this is to give people the opportunity to, expand their brands. Like I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and uh, I came up in, the early 2000s where, you know, it was you couldn't really it wasn't believable to really make it out of Detroit and become something bigger than what people expected you to be, So, me traveling all around the world, going to China, I wanted to bring that back to Detroit, and have people thinking, outside the box and not just thinking it's only one way to make it out.
That's great. So,
Hmm.
so you can really serve. I mean, you're more or less the U.S. ambassador for the brand. So, I think
Hmm.
that's really great. Your background to bring that passion and understanding of the desires for people to want to express themselves and also monetize those
Right,
expressions.
right, right. Exactly, exactly.
Well, going back to Tencent, I understand that Tencent is a partner of yours and
Hmm.
not necessarily a household name in the U.S. But as a little bit of
Hmm.
background, Tencent owns WeChat and QQ,
Hmm.
which are
Hmm.
messaging apps that are used by more than 2/3 of Chinese people, and also WeChat has over 3.3 million users here in the U.S. Despite
Right.
being, I believe, temporarily banned by our president, but maybe that's
Right.
just temporary. But I
Hmm.
also saw that WeChat has opened what they call mini shop virtual
Hmm.
stores. So, how is your relationship with Tencent? How does it work? Is it just they're, kind of behind the scenes and maybe driving traffic to Avocado? Or are you going to be integrating with things like the mini shops and other capabilities that they're building up?
I think you answered both of them, really. So that is our partnership as far as like behind the scenes and them helping us migrate traffic and things like that. We also gonna have stores, in WeChat and migrating traffic as well from there. And we also have a fund that they partner with us with as far as, to invest in other companies and things like that.
Oh, okay, great. So it's
Hmm.
obviously a long-term sort of immersive partnership.
Yes, yes, that was really huge for us.
Well, yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah,
Tencent may not be a household name here, but they're a
yeah,
massive, dominant player in China, and just a really great partner to have, just in terms of the awareness and the traffic, like you
yeah.
said.
I mean, to for people to even understand how big uh, they are, it's almost like the iTunes over there, um, and that's what people don't realize how big China is. Because when I was over there for the first time, um, I was watching TV and CNN China game on, and I'm looking and I don't see any news that's from the U.S. I'm like, oh, this is a total different world of what's going on over here. They're not even worried about what's going on in the U.S. So it's just yeah, like it's a bigger world over there actually.
Right. Well, and also, I think it speaks to this sort of um, West is best kind of mythology that we can
Yeah,
have over here. And,
yeah,
you go there and you become aware of how insignificant some of these Western
yeah,
dynamics can be.
yeah. Of course, yeah,
So
yeah.
when we talked about, I mentioned Tmall earlier and ways that a
Mhm,
lot of these Chinese platforms are actively reaching out to U.S. brands, and particularly
mhm,
there's been a big rush on and a big focus on working with smaller brands and smaller businesses and niche brands. And in
mhm,
fact, Tmall just recently hosted a pitch fest, what they called a pitch fest for these brands. And they went on to use it
mhm,
to promote their resources, including fulfillment services. So,
mhm.
they were promising these brands a fast track on the Tmall platform, but also, of course, it was a way to say, hey, look at all the cool stuff we can do. So,
Right.
how is Avocado planning on driving awareness and, driving the onboarding of the brands on the platform?
As far as getting brands on avocado,
Yeah,
is
just
that what you're saying?
well, not technically getting them on so much as just again driving that awareness and having them, you know, think, wow, this is going to be a really great platform to drive my brand. Again, you know, with Tmall doing things like pitch fests and things like that to get those brands excited about it.
Well, we also have, access to a lot of the influencers over there in China. Some names that won't be too familiar with brand people over here, but once they see their engagement and their following, I think it'll open the eyes of the brands over here of of a new world. As far as I think it'll be easy for them to understand the big opportunity that avocado is giving them. Once they see the traction and the following that some of the people will help these brands uh, build.
Okay, so you are courting influencers and doing
Yes, yes.
a lot of that work that's going to help make it more beneficial to the brands that participate.
Yes, yes, yep, yep,
Well, tell
yep.
me this, how do you when we talk about all of these hurdles to cross-border commerce, not to mention the political environment and trade issues and all of the things,
Hmm.
supply chain issues, not to get into all of that because I know you're not in the supply chain business, but
Yeah.
um, how are you breaking down those obstacles to giving access to these brands? How is the Avocado platform breaking down barriers to entry,
To
to selling,
entry.
to selling brands in
Uh
China?
oh. As far as I, I think what you're referring to is how are we able to do this?
Yeah, pretty much. How are you able?
Mm.
Well, how are you able to facilitate a commerce between brands and the Chinese market in a way that has not been done before, or in a way that's a lot more complex and has a lot more obstacles from other providers?
Well, we gotta. I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm just getting over. I'm surprised that I'm here. I had to get over a bad cold to get here, but
Oh,
um,
sorry about that.
yeah. But yeah, we have a few licenses that allows us to uh, sell directly from U.S. to China. So we through living there and figuring out how to get these things done and building relationships, it came into our play and gave us opportunity to do this.
Okay, so in other words, you've had access to some of the licenses and permissions, if you will,
Hmm.
through your relationships in China that have broken down the barriers to commerce.
Yes, of
Okay,
course.
great. And then you just build a great platform and to attract the brand, so all that can come together.
Right.
Well, I understand if I have it right, and let me know if this date's changed. Your official launch, I believe, is slated for December 1st. Is that right?
December 1st.
All right,
Correct.
cool.
Hmm.
Well,
So it's right around the corner.
well, it is. It'll get here fast, right?
Right.
Considering so many other things that are going on right now.
Mm.
What should brands do, or who should they contact if they want to learn more about the platform and how to participate on it?
Well, they can contact me by email at joseph at eastwardcompany.com.
Okay, Joseph at eastwardcompany.com.
Yes.
Okay. And
Hmm.
I under the website, I believe you have a landing page there. You guys are still building it out. I assume that's going to probably be a lot more robust around the 1st of
Uh-huh.
December as well.
Right. Yeah. So I think the best way, yeah, to contact me would be at the email.
Okay, great.
Hmm.
Well, I end every Voices of Retail Next interview with one question, and I'm going to pose it to you right now, which is just to ask you, what's next?
What's next? The takeover.
I love it.
Yeah, 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 man. A kid from Detroit, who always dreamed of, playing basketball, uh, to this, it's something I, never would have thought, I think it's a huge opportunity at hand to, make things better for the next.
That's great. Well, it's going to be really exciting to watch watch your growth and watch the launch of Avocado and to see those brand relationships take hold. I can't wait personally to see the platform. So I'm looking forward to staying in touch and seeing all of that unfold.
I appreciate it, and I'm so grateful of you having me on your show.
Yeah, it was such a pleasure, Joe. Thank you so much. And on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode of Speakerman Speaks Retail from Market Scale. And I hope that you'll continue to listen in every other Thursday. Our next episode is going to break on November 19th. We're going to have some more exciting interviews and continue to talk about the very terminally unique holiday shopping season that we're dealing with here and all of the shifting sands of that, and with major retailers and with consumers too, and with all the variables in the air that are making this just an unprecedented holiday season. So thank you very much. And you can also, between now and our next episode, follow me on Twitter. I'm Retail Expert XPERT, and you can also visit me on my site at speakermanretail.com. So thanks so much for tuning in today, and I'll see you next time.